Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dee Reinhardt with Illinois WorkNet. Today we've got our CBO TA meeting happening, and we've got just a few things to go over. I've got, if you have not already, please type in where you're from so that I can track it on the attendance part of the webinar. Okay, so we're going to start out with numbers. And we've got something that's weird going on with Albany Park and the enrollment required. I need to look at that. So Joe, if you and I can talk right after the call, I've got to see what's going on with that. So let's move on from there. Application not started. I want to talk about that in just a minute. But as I've been going out to the different offices, we have discussed what we need to do with these. But today, as I was looking at a couple of the people, the 3 people that I picked to look at all had appointments scheduled that had a 2151 uploaded prior to the new appointment date. So in some cases, these people may have been rescheduled and you just don't have a 2151 uploaded to say either no contact or whatever. So you need to go in and check. If you have a number listed in this application not started, you need to go in and check those people. For 2151 past due, Austin, you've got 1 that's past due, and Albany Park, you have 3 that are past due. Enrollment required. The 1/1 by Jane Addams means that Austin and Ravenswood both have 1. Failings, you've got 10. Joe Hempel, you and I need to talk about this, 30. And 2151A past due. Everybody's in pretty good shape except for Springfield Urban League. And I think that Larry and Olivia talked about this. So we just need to get those done. Larry, if you can get all of those done. Completion status, both of these items, completion status and SNAP ineligible. DHS is working on each customer that has been assigned to Epic, and they are going through the 3,000 or so customers that have been assigned to verify eligibility this month. So keep an eye on these 2 rows in the enroll dashboard to make sure that you are keeping up with the customer changes that are happening with those customers. Because if the SNAP eligibility changes and you update the eligibility and the completion in the progress page, then you'll need to upload a 2151 that says complete. So both of those columns on this document and rows in the dashboard kind of sort of go together. So take a look at those numbers. They will ebb and flow as we go through the month. And if you notice, there's some that are ineligible for Springfield Urban League, which happens to be a voluntary area. So even the voluntary agency areas need to check this, because some of these people may have lost their eligibility because they didn't redetermine or they didn't do something else to keep them on SNAP benefits. So it's not anything that you would have done with them. All right, moving on. If you have an application that's not been started in that row on the dashboard, and let me show you that row. We'll get there eventually. Today, Epic's been very slow for me. So I cleared my cookies and logged back in. Hopefully it goes a little bit faster now. If you have customers, as I explained a little bit earlier, in this row right here that says application not started, application passed, appointment passed. There's 38 people. I had them listed out in the document. It'll come out in the minutes. you need to go in and take a look to see if the customer has another appointment scheduled that maybe you missed uploading a 2151 for, indicating that that was no contact. The other option is if they were assessed and did not come back to complete the application. Now that's probably some of those early people when we did the reverse referrals in the new cohort. And those people just aren't ever going to come back. We are going to mark them as referral rejected and add a particular sentence here. This customer attended the initial appointment but never returned to complete the application. Therefore, we are rejecting this referral. That will move the customer out of the row right here that says application not started, appointment passed, and it will move them down to the application incomplete, no contact, or referral rejected. So that's how we're going to clean out these 38 people out of this row. Now, if they actually are participating and don't have an application completed, you will not have been able to enroll them. You will not have been able to give them any I-steps. So you want to make sure that they get that application completed. The next piece on our agenda, sorry about Mom there, is TABE and other assessments. Now, Olivia and I have been going around and visiting the different agencies so that we can get all of our data validation going on. So we asked several months ago if you could upload the TABE and other assessments under that section on the assessments portion of the customer's profile. Please make sure that you get those things done. They are reporting to another report that was requested by DHS, and we are waiting for all of the data to be uploaded so that they can start pulling those reports. Again, we're doing data review visits. During our visits, we're checking to make sure that everything is uploaded to the customer's profile. The big pieces that we're looking for are any credentials and copies of those credentials being uploaded, and any employment verifications that have been attained by those customers. They need to be uploaded, preferably on the academic services portion of the I-STEP, but if you have them on the progress page, we will take that as well. We just want to have them available somewhere and noted maybe on the customer's step if you uploaded it to the progress page where it is, just so that we can find it without having to dig around. We also want to make sure that we're consistent with the credential naming that we're doing and making sure that it's marked as a copy of the credential. We don't necessarily care about the completion certificates that customers are earning. We want to have the credential. And then we have a benchmark attainment report that we want to cover with you guys. And Tammy, you said you dialed in, right? It's a little bit bigger here. And we have on the screen right now, Tammy, I've got the document up pretty big.
Good deal.
We've got the.
So just to let you guys know, I may have been just talking to myself, which that's not uncommon for me. Okay, for the benchmark report, and I'll do the abbreviated version. We looked at the numbers today. There are some issues with the numbers that it's producing, mainly dealing with people that have been moved to other agencies. So we want to make sure that you guys are getting all of your count for your work that's being done. So the document that Dee's got up are the parameters for the report. And, you guys, everybody's in decent shape as far as your earnings are concerned, but we really want you to work, pretty steadily on getting these people completed through training, employed, and retained with the program. So the main thing we want to talk about, the benchmark report, is that's what I'm using to determine your earnings. And then there are, like I said, we know that there are a few glitches in it, especially with clients that are being re-engaged that we're addressing right now. But Dee's using that, and also Olivia's been looking at that too when they come out and do visits. And D, is there anything specific you want to mention? The thing is just to look at that. And if you look at the procedures manual, it also defines, on page 12, I think, of the procedures manual, defines the earnings on the benchmark report.
Carmen is saying that must have been enrolled for assessed is going to be an issue for those we have referral rejected but still assessed.
So if they've been referral rejected, they've never been enrolled in the program, then they won't be counted in the assessed number. And that's the way it's been, the entire time. They have to be enrolled in the program. And I know there's a lot of work you guys are doing on assessed, but, the assessed is assessed and staffed. So if you've done any staffing with these individuals, that would be included with this. So, so our parameters, they have to be enrolled, because you can't generate a 2151A, or you can't generate an ISTAP if they're not enrolled. And then you have to, assessments, and, assessments are different. If you have somebody with a college education, they may not necessarily go through an assessment, but you're still, working with them through your program. So everybody's a little bit different as far as the assessments are concerned, but it's very, very important, like Dee said, because this is going to be used by DHS. When we get this report done, basically DHS is going to be able to print out a customer, and they're going to be able to see what credentials they got, and they're going to be able to see what assessments, like if they had a TABE test, what their reading and math score is. And then this is information that they're going to be loading up in their IES system. So that's why it's critical that we have all credentials. If they didn't get a credential, they didn't get a credential, but you need to make sure you have identified the credentials. They are appropriately named credentials, industry recognized credentials. And then also with the TABE testing, you need to make sure that that is included in the assessments area with the reading and math levels.
Carmen and Kelsey are typing feverishly in the chat pod. I think, Tammy, you might want to schedule a call with them specifically.
Yes, and I will. You guys, I'll get a hold of you. I can't this afternoon because I got a meeting, but tomorrow, let's touch base. And you guys are good on your earnings. I mean, I don't think you have anything to worry about that. And I understand you want to take credit for everything that you've done, and I agree with that too. But it's no different than WIOA. A lot of times you guys do assessments up front to determine if they're an appropriate fit to be, put in WIOA. But until they're considered to be a registrant, then they're not counted in any of the WIOA services. So this is really no big stretch compared to what the WIOA providers do.
All right, Kelsey's saying it's different. So if you guys can talk tomorrow, that would be wonderful. And then that way we can move on to the next piece. So we've got enrolled in training up on the screen now. So they have to have been assessed and accepted by the CBO in that row. They have to have a next step activity or have 4 career planning steps. And one of the things that we have added is the Career Foundations course in Cook County is one of those pieces that will count for education. Any work experience will also count as education, even if they didn't complete education. And then under completed training, they have to have completed one of the next step activities that has the education involved in it. So Tammy, do you want to talk about if an agency completes a training and then another agency completes a training?
Yeah, so when you put them in a training program, you only get credit for them once, and it's unduplicated count of a customer within your organization. But if a customer is moved, you're going to get credit for what you do with that customer. So a customer may be served with, say, Safe Haven, be enrolled, be assessed, go through training, may even complete a training, and then just, walked away or something. And then so when they were re-engaged, they may be re-engaged with OAI. And then they enroll and they assess and they place them in training, they complete, maybe they got them employed. So each agency is going to get credit for what you've done with that customer. There will be a duplicate count on that customer as far as services in the program because they were served by 2 different agencies, but you still get credit for what you did with that particular customer. And like you said, on the benchmark report, that's one of the issues we're having is making sure that that's counting because we trigger when they get re-engaged, we unenroll them and re-enroll them. So we're making sure that we're setting up the logic so it's counting for each agency exactly what happened for that customer. Does that make sense?
Yes. All right, and then for employed, these are unduplicated counts. An employer record must be created by someone associated with the CBO for it to count for that CBO. And the employment is, even if it's at least 1 day, so make sure that you enter those employment records in there. You have to have a 30 plus, because the 30 minus, less than 30 hours, doesn't count for the benchmark achievement. Do you want to say anything else about the employed, Tammy?
Yeah, you just need to have supporting documentation of that too. So you have to have the record of their being hired and the status of the hire, if they're full-time, part-time. So yeah, I mean, we want to make sure that we're documenting all of our successes.
So if you get a 90-day employment verification, that would count for being hired as well as for the retention. If somebody didn't work their 90 days, then we need an employment verification indicating that the customer did work. And we've tried to go after the IDS to get that accomplished for you guys. It hasn't happened yet. If you use the work number, you can get verification that way. Otherwise, you'll have to send out some sort of an employment verification form from your agency or the 3085.
Right. And one of the things I'm hoping to do is bump up what's in the EPIC system against what's in the wage data system at IDES. I'm hoping that we can get it at least at our state level. And like I said, we have not been able to integrate the information into our EPIC system, but it's going to be for looking and analyzing EPIC and taking a look. So, I'm hoping off of the IDES system, I'm going to do it for all treatment group members, everybody, and then see what their outcomes were based upon that. But, when I do that, I should, if you have people that are employed and they're employed with ABC, when I look at the IDES records, hopefully they're also employed with ABC.
All right, and then under retained, customers only in the 30 plus hours of jobs will count for the retention. And the employer record date ranges must contain a record that totals at least 90 days consecutive, or a sum of the records must be at least 180 days if they were non-consecutive employment. So Tammy, do you want to address that at all?
No, that's accurate. And so that's what's built into this benchmark report that we're doing. And like I said, once again, you guys need to do your due diligence and follow up with the customers to identify that they are still retained, or if they are switch jobs, then that 180 is what applies to that. And one other thing I want to add that isn't on this piece of paper, we do have like bonuses, so that will be added to it. So, and one of the things we'll be looking at is number of individuals that went through your training program that got a credential related to the program that you're training them in, the number of individuals that were placed in employment that's related to the training program, and then you're also going to get credit for individuals that continue education. So that's a big push that we're having, especially to the end. If you can, you need an exit plan for these customers. So if you could put them in, say, a WIOA program, or if you have other funding sources that can continue our education, and that's a positive too. And that's actually weighted the same as employment. So you'll get the same measure, same weight as you do on the employment measure.
But those aren't counted in the benchmark.
Correct. And those come from different areas on the dashboard. Yeah, it's not in the benchmark report, but we'll be looking at the dashboard and the credential report for those.
All right. All right. Anything else that we need to chat about? There was a recent update to the DHS contact sheet. So if you are trying to get a hold of somebody and you're not getting through, you might want to check that sheet on the restricted resources page. Otherwise, I think we might be completed with our agenda. Credentials, benchmark, data review. Yep, I think we're done. So if you did not already check in by typing in where you're from for the in the chat pod, you may want to do that so that I can track attendance on here for us. And otherwise, everybody have a wonderful Merry Christmas and Kwanzaa and Happy New Year. And we'll talk to you in the new year.
Yeah, everybody have a wonderful holiday season. And I just want to thank you guys again so much for all of the work you've done with the EPIC program. I think we've got some real successes from it, some real challenges we've noticed too, but I think in the long run, it's been a good experience. And, you know, I've learned a lot, that's for sure.
Okay.